I had the flashy suits that I would wear. I felt like that was a big thing I kept hearing on the news. What's he going to be wearing coming into trial? There was the gold suit. There was the suit that was sort of all mirrors, which was really bad for filming, I guess, because you could see all the cameras.
Right. You had the question mark suit like the Riddler?
That was my least favorite suit and my most disappointing day at trial. I really couldn't focus because I was just so pissed that nobody got what I was wearing.
Sure. Sure, that's tough. Bobby, there was an interesting moment in the trial where the prosecution sort of upset you and you really snapped.
Yeah, the infamous flipping the table moment. Prosecution started saying some things, entering some things into evidence, and I lost it. I ran over, I flipped over their table, I ran back to my table. I ended up flipping over that table. There was the table that the stenographer's little, clickety-clack was on. I flipped that over. At some point, I started picking up some of the boards from the tables that I broke and doing like a little karate demonstration. I feel like the judge allowed this because he knew it made me look like a fool because the boards were so thick I couldn't break them.
Yeah, you really got hurt.
I didn't have the belt at the time because I hadn't trained enough. So is that on me or is that on my dojo? I think it's not on me.
Me too. Why did you push so hard to play the race card?
Once we started realizing that this trial was very similar to OJ, I insisted that we make this trial about race. So there were a lot of questions to the police officers who arrested me and the investigating officers, some of the witnesses. Do you hate white people? Have you ever said the word cracker, etc.? And it really didn't land the same way it did in the OJ trial.
Sure. Well, especially because for the most part, the police involved and the prosecution and everyone else was also white.
Again, it was a huge mistake. It was something that my attorneys insisted I not do. When the officer was on the stand, I would go reverse racism, and it didn't land.
Right, and reverse racism isn't a thing.
Bobby Pantone's trying to make it a thing.
Okay. The defendant in a case like this doesn't usually take the stand for cross-examination. You insisted on taking the stand.
Multiple times in this trial, I feel like I accidentally got into the position of arguing against myself. I said, based on what we've seen in this trial, I would put me in jail for 100 years. I'd throw the book at me. I looked at the jury and I said, if you don't convict me, you're a fool. I was really just trying to prove a point to my attorney that I didn't agree with, the way this was going. But ultimately, it backfired upon me because you forget when you're up in that box, you're the one on trial.
I don't think most people forget that.
Very similar to the OJ trial, there was a glove, a bloody glove. And similar to the OJ trial, they wanted me to put it on in the courtroom. The prosecution said something like, we'll see if that glove fits. And I thought, oh, I'm going to make it fit. Okay. This glove, I would say it didn't fit very well. Didn't fit very well at all.
It was too small for your hand.
It was quite small. But my attorney kept saying, as you can see, this glove doesn't fit well. And I kept going, I think it fits perfectly. Fits pretty great if you ask me. And I was showing everyone all the things I could do with it. I could pick things up. Even a juror goes, is that really your glove size? And I say, yes, it is. This is my glove.
That's another reason your case was so famous. The jury was very vocal.
There were points where I think the jury thought, is this really happening right? I mean, that was that famous book that juror wrote, Is This Really Happening Right Now? The Trial of Bobby Pantone and some of the ridiculous things he said. I think if I could go back in time, I might have said that the glove didn't fit, but then that would create an alternate timeline where there are now two Bobby Pantones, current day Bobby Pantone and Bobby Pantone where the glove didn't fit. And then if one of those Bobby Pantones wanted to go back in time, he would split the timeline.
This wasn't the first time Bobby's tried to explain multiverses to me, so I knew I had to let him just sort of run out of steam.
Armies of Bobby Pantones, you have the master of time, and you sort of have them all colliding.
But to my great surprise, he would ultimately tell me what his real alibi was after an hour or so.
That's why they say if you go back in time, would you kill Hitler? I don't know. Then we have a timeline without Hitler. Is that really what we want? Maybe. He wasn't the best guy.